2. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Bread4Soul CONVOS with myself, Sir LSG. This is a pre-recorded episode, but nonetheless, it's a super special one for me. I've got on the other line DJ Black Coffee, a legend, an icon. And if I could mention how I grown to view life and some of the things that have grown me and my progress is your story, brother. It's like it's an inspirational one, and I'm short of words to even describe how I feel like talking to you. But I just want to know from you: do you ever reflect? Do you have time to reflect and see how far you've come? Is it always clear, or is it always about the big vision that's coming next? Are you always on the go like that, or do you have some time to look back?
Man, thank you for having me. I like your show. I'm a big fan. I've been watching like a couple of episodes.
Thank you.
I just think it's important, for our space, for what we do, to have these conversations and listen to each other, be inspired by each other, and so thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Um, I do reflect, um, but I at the same time, I'm 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 a goal-driven person, so I'm always thinking of how do I. First of all, I grew up in a space where my mind was just exposed to my surroundings. Ngikhulele elokishini engangelizwe eMthatha. I moved there when I was 8 from Mlazi, and being around that kind of environment limits your thinking and your drive. Well, at least for me, and so it took me a while to figure out my full potential, and as soon as I realized that I could open my mind and think further than my surroundings and want to do better than I thought I would do, I wanted to do more. So I always challenge myself to do better, like I want to do the best. I don't want to be the best. I just want to do my best.
I've heard a friend of mine was telling me that, I mean, this is like years ago, and you guys worked together, Rafcam, and he was saying that it's no surprising, it's not surprising to see the success that you have, because already back then you had the vision to say you're gonna do this, you're gonna play on the bigger stages. How important
Yeah.
is having the vision in your mind, like, because the way you explained it in an interview with a resident advisor, you said that you had pictures of Michael Jackson, or you had dreams of Michael Jackson visiting you in your space.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
important is it having that clear vision in your dream?
It's crazy, man. I just feel like whatever that's happening to us as people, uh, it's meant to happen. It's written. All we have to do is um, tap into a certain space in our minds, in our brains, and understand our calling. I laugh about that Michael Jackson thing because it's something that's been happening, not on a Michael Jackson level, like um, different American superstars have come, and they come here and we hang out like the same way I thought about when I was a kid. The other time Asha was here, I was going to a gig in Menley. Uh, he was like, "I'm coming with you." So I went to pick him up at the hotel. Like no bodyguards. It's just me and him. We drove. We were still working on the song. We're listening to our song on the on the way. We get to a gig, I play, he's right next to me, he's dancing to the music, we drive back to Joburg. So in that sense, it's like that's the Michael Jackson story, you know. It's like coming back and it's happening on a different level. So I feel like all the things are just there. All we need to do is just understand. If God is gonna show you a glimpse of what can happen to you, it's like meeting a guy you've never met before and he's almost your age, but he's done so much, and he's found his calling. You go, you see his house, you're like, wow, you know, uh, God doesn't show you that for nothing. The minute you see it and you start thinking about it, it means you can do it. You were there for a reason. So and I've seen so much, in my career, even with my work, I travel and I have people booking me like private jets to fly from one country to the other. I land, a helicopter picks me up. I land on the guy's home. I play the gig. The helicopter is waiting in the backyard. It takes me back to the airport. I'm like, there's no way God is showing me all this thing for nothing.
But
You know,
yo, bruh, sorry to cut you, but I want to understand, right? So when something like that happens for the first time, and you're like, oh my goodness, like what is going through your mind besides knowing that you visionized this thing, like you've engraved it in your mind that you are gonna achieve these goals, but
man,
to actually see it.
it's amazing. Like I said, it's because it's not just me, it's God at work. That's why we, all the things that we really want, all of them, everything that we like, you really, really want, you get it. Doesn't matter what it is in your lifetime. It could be the smallest thing. It could be growing up without shoes and all you want to own one day is a Cavella. You're going to get it.
Sure.
So then what's your version of a Cavella then? What's your version of um, something different that you really, really want? So some of us have bigger responsibilities, that I feel mine stay with me and they don't leave me, like I can't escape them. I think um, I was put in this space where I am to change a certain things in my lifetime, and I think everything that has happened in my life has been preparing me, to have that thick skin, to grow, to understand, and be able to get to where God wants me to be. So every day I know, like, I have to keep moving. There's a lot of setbacks that come, but I know I have to keep moving because my journey is quite an intense one, and it just doesn't involve me alone. So aside of achieving things for myself, there's things that I need to achieve for my generation.
And your journey has been documented, to some extent. Like we see your success, we see how you started, like, and all of some of the most of the, let me say, moments, those junctures that really made a big impact into, well, on our scene or internationally. When you talk about the 60 hours that you did, Komaponya, and you talk about
Yeah,
Africa Rising, and will we ever see a proper documentary of DJ Black Coffee?
yeah. We actually are working on one now. For the past 2, 3 years, we have been documenting like certain things, like even the making of the song subconsciously that we were talking about. We had a camera crew. I have a lot of like things that like I have um, recorded, just to add to the story. There was a time where I had a camera crew following me. I remember being in studio with Puff Daddy, and we were working on Casey's music. You know, I took a crew back to Mthatha to record like my childhood story, where I come from, and so I have been recording stuff. There's still more stuff that I feel like I need to add as my journey continues. I kind of like even feel like that documentary will be like a part one. You know, here's a funny story. About 5 years ago, I was with my family staying in LA for the summer, and we were out for dinner, and then we saw this kid who was wearing a Crawford tracksuit, pants actually written Crawford, and so we saw him. I was like, wow, this South African kid. So I went to him. He was alone, and I was like, yo, where you from? He says, no, I'm from South Africa, and from Pretoria. You alone? He says, come, sit with us. He was 18, this boy. And so he sat with us, we were talking, what are you doing in LA? He says, no, I work for Lionsgate, um, the TV, movie production. It's a big thing. You're 18. I mean, how come, And then he's like, no, actually, that's what I tell everyone. But I'm here to do a Elon Musk movie. I'm like, I don't understand.
Sure.
He says, no, I'm an assistant director
Sure.
on an Elon Musk movie. But you're 18.
Yeah.
There's ever since he got to know about Elon Musk, he just followed him, researched him, and one day, I don't know, through a family member, he got to meet Elon Musk, and when he met him, he told him that I want to make a movie about you. And Elon Musk was like, oh, really? Okay. Then they flew the kid to LA, but because he's a kid, they couldn't make him a director. This is 5 years ago. And then they were saying the movie was going to come out the following year because they've been shooting. But looking at like what Elon Musk has been doing, you can't do a movie on Elon Musk yet. The other day he just launched a rocket to space.
Yeah.
The other time, like last year, sometime he flew a car to space. There's a car floating in space. It's like, should we release it? No, I have more to do. I feel like my story is like that. Like there's so much that I'm still trying to do. That do we wait for it? Like if we say we're gonna wait till the end of the year, then we do, and then the following year, like around March, we're planning something else, and then we continue, and then we say, okay, end of the year, we want to do something else. Like one of the things we were planning to do this year was performance in New York at the what is this place? Where Trevor Noah just did a show. I'm gonna remember it. The Garden. I'm gonna remember it.
Okay.
But this year we were supposed to do that, so we thought Madison Square Garden.
Medicine. So yeah.
That's what we wanted to do by the end of the year, and so we were like, let's hold on to that kind of a show before we wrap up the shoot. So there's so much that one is still working on and wants to do. But yeah, I'm definitely working on a documentary.
I feel like because you seem like somebody who's always shifting the goalposts, you reach this goal and then there's a bigger goal, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, because me, like it's one of them. It's like some are for me, some are for the greater good. There's two stories in my life. Like there's one that is for me where I'm like, yo, personally, what am I looking for? by the end of the year, I want to buy myself a nice watch,
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
go work,
Mm.
and then there's like, what can I do that will change the cause of our people? What can I do that will change the landscape of our music industry? What can I do to help our genre of music, our music culture? What can I do to um, change how the world sees Africa? These are all the things that I constantly work on, So in between just me filling my cup, there's other things like that. I feel like are my responsibility.
I love that, brother. I've got a voice note here for you, addressed to you
Yeah.
by a friend of mine. I'm gonna play it, then we get back to the interview.
All right, sure.
Morning, Lesego. Morning, Nati. Congratulations, Lesego. I think we can safely say this experimental format of yours has achieved some significant success with your guest this morning, and also because you've managed to get me to send my first ever voice note. You asked me to chat a little bit about our work together in the past. I think we covered that in some detail last week, and I may have said too much. But one thing I regret failing to do was to mention the contribution of Brendan Jury in the orchestration of that show. But while we're here and you have the opportunity to ask this question, the relationship that we built through Africa Rising gave me a front row seat on the most meteoric rise I've ever seen in the entertainment business. And if I can just select a segment out of that to give people an indication and lay out a question for you. The debut in Ibiza was a really big deal, and that led quite quickly to the difficult decision you had to make, which made you available for the closing of Ushuaia, which then led on to the launch of your residency. And I had the privilege of attending the opening night of that residency, as well as your very kind, life-changing invitation to perform on the closing night. But that whole segment of time actually involved a huge degree of acceleration for you personally in your life and career. And I think people have a sense of how well you've done, but there is no real view of the challenge of managing that level of acceleration in your life, while at the same time having a balance in terms of your creative output. So perhaps you'd like to talk around that for a few minutes and give people an insight into what it's taken for you to manage that unbelievable kind of G-force of acceleration that you've gone through. Because, your view on that is quite instructive to anybody who's aspiring to these kinds of heights. It doesn't come free. And my point to you has always been your success is followed on from hard work. I'm extremely proud of you, and I have to say that your recent acquisition of shares in Gallo is precisely the outcome that we always discussed around Africa Rising, and it's where your leadership role overshadows all of the other aspects of being famous. It's about providing an actual outcome. So while we're here, let me just say in front of everyone again, congratulations, that is a spectacular move. All right.
Sure. That was DJ strategy, right?
Yeah, man. Wow, this is quite touching. Wow. Look, being a DJ from South Africa, there's one thing that we possess, and it's talent. Music is in our veins. Um, we have a lot of DJs here, and we have the best DJs in the country. So uh, when you are given residency in Ibiza as a best DJ, what can you improve? It took Glenn speaks about my opening night in Seco Loco. District 10, he was there. Um, I had never been to the island. I had actually never even seen a video of Seco Loco. I'd actually never seen a set from Ibiza, ever. My understanding of Ibiza was what Euphonic and Fresh were playing. And even before I left, I called Themba. I said, man, give me some music. I'm going to the island. Basically, I'm going there to play what I think, Ibiza plays. But I went prepared. My folder was quite open. I got into the space. We got Ellie. I was with Glenn and checked the place out. I played, um, and there were mixed feelings. There were mixed feelings, and so we kind of like then waited to see if there's going to be another invitation. And I also, after playing and being there, realized that I showed them that I'm a good DJ, which is, like I said, what we possess. But there were moments that were unnecessary, on my set. And so I was crossing fingers for the next invitation, where I was like, I hope they bring me back again, because it's one of the most important clubs in the world, if not the important. And by the grace of God, I got another invitation, which then I knew that, okay, now I'm really ready, and and they gave me like a very weak set, because they were not sure if, I'm gonna, you know, be like a super busy DJ that I was on the other set. And I got there gracefully, so I was ready and I did my thing, and that led into more sets. It led into me actually being the kind of like the main act, closing, getting the main slots, because I then got to understand, what was needed. Fast forward to me getting residency. Um, I had been from the best school in Ibiza, Secologo, the most respected club there. So I knew the integrity it carries. And I took that with me, even though high is like 6,000 capacity people every Saturday. But I adjusted my head to see a small room. And the first night where Glenn was huge, big stage, we're all up there, and it felt a little bit disconnected. It was a great start. Then we started fixing things. We moved the booth. I took it down to the people where it was closer. So when I play, I see people here. It's not like, it doesn't feel like a big room. But what it really took is understanding how serious it is. From me just on weekly basis looking for music, talking to producers. I employed someone to find me music weekly. So every Thursday, I get a folder of music unreleased from different labels, from different producers. So I feel like that's a step that really helped me to get into a space where I am, where I knew that now I am in a different league, and I have 18, 19 shows in this one club where people come. I play 4-hour sets and more. People come to hear me play. I need to be better every weekend. I need to understand, you know, it was embedded in my brain that this I have to do and I have to do it well. So it went from being, who is this guy, because people, all of a sudden there's a billboard with black coffee. They didn't see me for a long time playing with other DJs. So I'm not from Europe. I'm not a familiar name. So then people come to the club to kind of like, let's try it out. It went from there to people being there every weekend. I think last year we had the most successful night on the island. But it took me like owning up to that responsibility to answer Glenn. It took me understanding that now I need to play on the highest level. I need to get music on the highest level. I need to silence the noise. basically. That's what it took me, to just silence all the noise. It took me relearning as well. Like everything I thought I knew, I had to start from the beginning and understand, like, what makes people on the island tick. In South Africa, it's the rhythm, because yeah, there's always a new dance.
Yeah.
So songs depend on the dance, you know.
Yeah.
So if you play a techie song, the dance doesn't work. There's always a new dance here. And then you understand the groove, like, so you find songs that have the groove so that you can accommodate the dance. And there, it's not that. So I had to learn, but also in between, what are the songs that have groove that could work? Because I wasn't there to just follow what everyone is doing. So it took me really, really like studying the place and unlearning and doing a lot of unlearning and, like learning more of like the art of DJing. There's books that I read about DJing back in the day, and they even made more sense now, because this is where I was, on like the world stage, and so yeah.
And I'm glad actually you went into the energy and like the idea of a big room and a small room, and I've heard you talk about that in interviews as well. And I want to ask you actually, from I mean, a lot of South Africans, especially deep house DJs and deep house lovers, right? We've got a certain passion, and I love that passion because it's raw and it's there. It's kind of like a part of us, what makes us tick. But there
Yeah.
also is another element of it that is kind of very negative. That is also very kind of like somebody who wants to step into a certain space will now get criticized by people who don't understand the space and who are not into that space. Have you ever felt ever conflicted, especially with you coming back to play in the country? Have you ever felt conflicted about where you are playing and the style, that the energy that you want to drive in South Africa?
No, of course. I'm forever conflicted. From day one, I was never everyone's favorite DJ. You know, because my DJing comes from my background, my music background. So it doesn't come from what the streets say. It's deep or it's commercial. It's never been from that place. Then I started music, and then my understanding of things even became better, and I studied jazz. In the genres of music, jazz is what you could call deep house. Like jazz artists I was having a conversation yesterday with Nduduzo Makatini about, who's a jazz pianist, about that community. It's a community I come from that I had to quickly walk away from, because like deep house people, it's very limiting. It's very, it looks down upon other genres. Like jazz musicians are like that, to a point where someone could be playing jazz and they can decide, no, it's not, like that's not jazz, and then you find jazz musicians start playing for each other, start playing to prove how jazzy they are. And what happens then is it becomes this revolving circle where on my next album, I'm going to show all the pianists that I'm the jazziest of the jazziest of all musicians. And then no one's thinking about a normal ear on the street. And then it becomes more abstract and more abstract and more. So that's my background. I'm from that space where I understood that you want to be the greatest like jazz pianist, cool, but can you work with other people? Can you grow your talent? That's why, for me, one of the greatest jazz artists ever lived was Miles Davis. Who understood music, lived beyond the genre. He then used to go to rock concerts and listen, and then he started playing with the kids. He started fusing his horn where he felt it worked. For me, that's music. There's no music genre that's superior than the other. Because you can sit and say deep house is the best. Someone else says hell no.
Yeah.
There's no such a thing. What's your best deep house song? And you press play, and the jazz artist says, no, this song is out of key, by the way.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's the truth. But it does not mean that it does not touch the person. So I think we all make music to touch people's hearts. So whether it's a classical music song, whether it's a jazz song, whether it's the most commercial song you've ever heard, if it touches people, then the box is ticked. So there's no music that's superior, and that's the problem with the jazz artists and the deep house fanatics. Like, oh no, that's nonsense. Avicii, oh, that's nonsense. And you watch an Avicii show, people are like crying tears because they hear the music the same way a deep house fan will hear deep house. And so I've had to understand these things, at a space where I thought, okay, maybe deep house is there, But then you also realize that there's no genre that is deep house because it depends on the person listening. I could say this is a deep house song, man. It's so deep. And then you'll be like, nah, it's not.
Your deep is not my deep.
Yeah. And then China's like, oh, this song is so deep. Yeah. And someone else says, no, actually, so it's, at the end of the day, it proves that it's just music, and then what do you want to play? It's music. I play music, so I can start my set here and end there. As long as all these songs that I feel, that's what I play. So I've been like that DJ from the beginning, starting out, who was always different. I grew up in the circles of Tira, Socks, in Durban, and I used to bring my crates and sit and wait for an opportunity to play, and I wouldn't get it sometimes, and then maybe I'll get a slot at 6 when everyone is going home in the morning, because I was never a peak time DJ, but then, because I was a good DJ, but then I was also not an opening DJ, so I've always been in between. I was never deep enough. I was never commercial enough. I was never even commercial enough for gigs. I remember a friend of mine used to work for SAB, and they would do events, but he was my friend. And so he asked me to come, like, let's go. But then he's booking other DJs, because he didn't feel also that I was commercial enough to do the gigs. But what I used to do when I was making music, I used to give him the songs, and he would play the songs. And his boss became a fan. And one day his boss said, "Who's that black tea guy? Can you book that black tea guy?" That's how I got my first gig, because my music got in, not even in the front door. The guy used to like, then he liked the mixes. He's like, but what's his name? Black Tea. Can we have that Black Tea? That's how I got in.
Sure.
But I've always been that guy who's always been in between. So in Ibiza, same thing. I'm still there. What does he play? And my answer is one. I play music. So the songs I play will have classical music inspiration, R&B, jazz, deep, whatever you want to call it. But in the end, it's a story. It's a journey.
Yeah. I love that because as well, one of the jazz artists that I could mention who's alive, who has had the most criticism from jazz artists is Herbie Hancock, because of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
his
Yeah,
bringing in of the synth and playing unorthodox type of
yeah, yeah,
sounds,
yeah.
and jazz musicians used to go at him and look
They
at.
disowned him.
Mm,
They disowned Begum Selegu
mm,
in this country. And at the time, he was one of my lecturers in Devon.
oh,
And
damn.
he had done the most amazing album before he came back. And he came back, did an album with sheer music. I think
Homecoming.
it was Homecoming or Home
Homecoming.
Against.
Homecoming, yeah.
They disowned him.
Wow.
He's one of our greatest musicians to ever live in this country. They disown him. So I know the space. That's what we're talking about in the Duzo. I know that space. And so when it comes to deep house talk, it's even the smallest for me because I've seen the bigger scheme of it. That's why it doesn't faze me. But if I remember, I did a mix on Lars's show.
Yeah.
That mix was the most talked about. Even before, he was like, next week we're gonna have black coffee. They were like, no, what is he doing here? Why do you have him? The day the mix came, it broke the internet. The entire system crashed. I think till today it's the most listened mix.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one is gonna come back and say, but this mix is nice.
Yeah. But
No one is going to come back to say that. Everyone is going to sit on the negative, like, no, he's not a deep house DJ and this and that. But I'm over that conversation. It does not even faze me anymore.
I love that. And but the reason I love this so much is because that um, some of the people who will criticize you when you start shifting into your own space of what you feel is working for you at that time, the very
Yeah.
same people after a couple of years will now be the ones that are saying, hey, I coffee blind, I look at him.
Yeah, they learn. Yeah,
Yeah,
they learn.
but I want to go back a bit to Africa Rising, and besides the big production that it represented, for me, what that show meant, seeing a 24-piece orchestra with artists there and a live percussion. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a former choir boy, so I used to sing for a choir called Molopo Choral in Mafike, and we
Yeah.
we did competitions with competing against choirs like Durban Serenades and
Yeah.
SA
I'm from
singers.
that school too, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah,
I know
continue.
that you are a choir boy too.
Yeah.
Durban Serenades, Gauteng Choristers, and we used to compete against these choirs. But what really moved me about that space was being on the same stage as an orchestra. This
Yeah.
majestic sound that you hear, like, I don't know, if you've never been, I mean, it's one thing to hear it on a recording, but to actually experience it and feel it,
Yeah.
it's majestic. And
Yeah.
how do you feel seeing the end video of Africa Rising, just experience, even being on stage and experiencing the full orchestra and it's in its own might?
Man, sometimes I watch the thing and I cry, um, because at times I love building. I love building, and Galo is like the least performing company right now. You know, and we've been having straight meetings, and it excites me that it's the lowest. I can't wait for us to build. So I love building so much and taking something that no one looks at and build it um, to a point where sometimes when we get to where we want, I don't even pay attention anymore. I move on. And I think Africa Rising was one of those things. And so it took time for me to understand, the full scope. Yes, when I was on stage performing, I got it. You know, I got it. I was like, wow, you know. But I still have the DVD. Every time I put it on, I'm like, man, this is unbelievable, you know. But because it's also just beyond achieving to have an orchestra, you know, it's just showing how amazing our music is. You know, it's just um, you taking it uh, and giving it the best version of it, you know, that matters the most. And people watch that thing, I mean, and it changes the way they see me. You know, that was 2012. So everyone in Ibiza is like, oh, there's a new guy called Black Coffee. I even won a newcomer award in Ibiza.
Yeah.
And that same year, my face was on a can of Red Bull celebrating 10 years in the country, you know, and there was a newcomer, there's this new guy, and oh, you're the new guy, you know. Then they wake up to the things that I've done, and then they see Africa Rising. It was done like 2012 with an orchestra. Then it just changes everything. Like, okay, we understand why you're here. You know, it's one of the most amazing things, and I'm forever grateful to Glenn. You know, for um, being crazy with me. You know, because I do crazy things, like scary crazy things, and it was a conversation. You know, like this is one of the things I'd like to do, and he was like, okay, let's do it. There's very few people like that in my space. I'm always the only one who goes and just do crazy things, and he became that crazy with me, you know. And we achieved like the most amazing uh, thing, you know, in my career, you know. It's something I'd like to do again, you know. As I'm growing, my music is also becoming more versatile, much more slower, you know. And I understand house music is a different space, and it's something I love. I also understand that that's my DJ thing. My DJing thing is house music. My production thing is everything that I love. So I'm getting to that space where, you know, one day I can do a song with just the piano and the violin, and it's in the album. You know, that's the space I'm getting into where I'm growing and understanding. You know, like it doesn't have to fit on my sets. You know, it's something I've always been obsessed with. Like I don't want to do songs that are on my sets. I want songs that, like on Tuesday, you're driving to work, put it on, listen to it. You know, because weekend is Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
You can't only listen to me only on Friday or on Saturday. I want you to listen to me all the time. You know, but because of the tempo, and then it can fit into virtual set or um, uh, when Drake is having a private party, they can play this song. You know, it fits everywhere. Then it's not a hard techno song. It's not, you know, like one of the songs like Puff likes is "Time to Go." You know, and it shocked me. You know, when I was playing at his parties, he kept coming, play the song, and it's a song I don't even play anymore. I'm like,
I'm tired of this
wait,
song.
I want to play it.
Yeah.
And he just kept coming back. And as soon as I did, he lost his mind. You know, and I love that. So like there's a song for everyone. That's why when an EP comes out and people are like, I'm not sure. I just like number 8.
Sure.
That's your song. You know, someone else is like, I'm on number 2. Someone else is like, I love number 1. That's what I want. You know, pick your song, hold on to it dearly, you know, because number 6, someone is holding on to it too, you know.
I love that so much, and actually, you touched on a point that I was I was conflicting with myself with my album in 2017, because my album was more of a listening, as much as it was a house album. but it was a listening album. You know, it was very soulful, it was very soft, a lot of live instrumentation as well. But every time going to gigs, even during the launches of the album, where you get to play the main set at midnight or something like that, and I can't play the songs of my album just because of the energy, you know, and I was always conflicted. But I got to that. Actually, it doesn't have to be. I don't need to be playing my music at 12 or at 1 a.m. to a certain crowd that might not, you know, the energy might not fit. Um,
Yeah.
but I want to get into something before I play you another clip from a friend.
Yeah.
You are doing so much, brother, and your success, and you know, you've just acquired Galo, and there's just so much in your hands. You've got an investment company that I want to ask you about later, but I want to know about mentally, like, because I cannot imagine that anybody is able to perform at this high level all the time without having to need help or having to have mental issues. Do you go to therapy? Like, how do you get yourself back together, especially in those times that are very difficult and challenging from you?
Um, the therapy thing is actually new, kind of. Like that's why I was saying our thing should be at 10 because it's usually now at 11, and she sent a message that she's ready when I am. But because I'm talking to you today, I think I'm gonna just push it back a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much.
But I do, you know, and it took me a while to understand because there's a lot of things that have been confusing to me, and then they started affecting me. Then I had to get a perspective from someone who's outside, who doesn't do what I do, someone I can talk to and say, by the way, Izolo, this is what I did, and this is the reaction I got, and I'm so confused. You know, why it's happening. Unfortunately, there's so much envy and jealousy in our industry, and it took me a while to get it, because I find that it was coming from people that, when I look back, it's people that I brought in my circle. I saw some things in them and I'm like, man, you are so gifted. You know, it would not be fair if you didn't get an opportunity. You know, and we'll start work, we'll do amazing things, and then there's then funny energy that comes, and it's been happening, you know, and then it ended up affecting me because I'm like, what? I'm the common denominator here. You know, what am I doing wrong? You know, like, am I not communicating myself clear in the beginning? You know, do people think I'm here to take advantage of them? How do they see me? Because from where I'm sitting, everything I do is from a pure heart, and I want the best for them. And so it took me having these conversations, you know, to understand things better, you know, and I got to understand. Hence, I said there's so much envy and jealousy. I didn't see it like that before, you know. And by the way, that's a natural thing. Being jealous is a natural thing. What's not natural or what's terrible about it is when it hits you, what do you do about it? You know, if your friend comes and say, Donna, I bought a car today, and you thought you were going to buy this car before he does because you work hard, you earn more money, and he buys it before you, and it's a nice car, and it hits you, it doesn't sit good. What do you do? Because it's natural. It's going to hit you a certain way. what do you do with it? And most people do not know how to deal with it. When it hits them, then it strangles them. Then they don't know how to deal with it. Then you can't blame people who don't know how to deal with jealousy well. And these are things I had to learn, because I would go back to the same people, try and fix, and try and be better and try and do better, but it never goes away because they are struggling to learn to deal with it. So I've had to learn that it's not my fault. I've also had to learn that my calling is bigger. And so sometimes I respond, and immediately after I respond, I regret it. Like I wish, like I regret opening this conversation, because the person I'm dealing with doesn't want the answers, doesn't want the solution, doesn't want things to be better. They are better pointing a finger. So if I respond, if I confront, it's easier to say, look at the message I send you, look what it's saying to me. It's better for them to receive that kind of like attack, and then they are justified. So I've had to learn that my goal and my role is so much bigger. All I have to grow is a thick skin, which is the hardest thing to do. How do you meet someone who was saying terrible things about you yesterday, and you meet them, they're like, groot man, and then you must like, mpanazo grand, but and then you must be like, man, sharp, sharp, do you need anything? I know grand, I've had to learn that. I've had to learn to know that I know what you say. I know the things that you're trying to do, but it is not my fight.
Yeah, sure.
So I will not bring it up. I will not. I will not. I will know, but it's not my fight because it's a fight I want to win. You are the one who's struggling with your jealousy. You are the one who's struggling to control your emotions towards me. And if I retaliate, I'm going to have to be blamed because, but you are the hot man. So I've learned to like take the blows and focus on the goal. Focus on a way forward. Focus on the things that I need to do. Yeah.
No, I love that, and I just want to say to people who are watching this, every first Monday on this show, every first Monday of the month, we have our resident psychiatrist, Dr. Gwen Tonyani, who advises us in different issues of mental health, and we deal with different issues of our mentality as people, especially as artists. So I think people should check that out. But you spoke about friendships, and one of the friendships that you have is with a mutual friend of mine. I'm just gonna play this quick voice note, and then we'll come back quickly, brother.
All right. All right.
Hi everyone, man. This is Usiana Makanya, normally known as DJ Kapila. Nkosi nathi maphumulo nathi umngani wami, which is Black Coffee. We grew up together, Mthatha, in a small location called Ngangelizwe, growing up, nje, like we liked, like dancing, and the music, Yeah, man, I've always taken him as a bigger brother, because almost most of the things, because he was a bit older than me, so I was always looking up to him in terms of, you know, um, nje as out ukhula, So even with the music, he has inspired me, to start, like this journey. Uh, yeah, man, yeah, he's always the guy with, will tell you about, this is what I want to do, like even the stuff that is like really happening, breaking, to the world, being playing in Ibiza, playing worldwide. It's stuff that you would like, say, like I remember we used to like back in the days, like I think we were like in Pretoria. We'll sit there and playing one on one, and we didn't have any gigs, and you will like say, hey, you know what, my man, like just listening to YFM, like listening to the guys like Abomonde or Vini or Christos, and you'll hear that, like, like at Canarita it's gonna be happening, you know, and we'll wonder like what's like about guys like Abo Vini, how, their lifestyle, what I'm saying, what took them like to that platform to be like where they are, like, like onto superstardom, and and one thing about him, yabo, it's all about discipline, yabo, le nto ngayo, of whatever that he's doing. He's so disciplined, and if ubeke focus into whatever that he wants to do, he's going to achieve. He's that kind of a guy, yabo. So he's a, from an early age, man, like he's always been that guy, who's got the focus, yabo, all. And from now, like nje, like njengoba seyikhulile seyimdala, yabo, le nto ngayo, we're still looking up to him as much as like we are friends, and we've done everything, going out to parties, we'll walk for kilometers, man, like going to parties growing up, nalomjita, because we always followed the music, yabo. Thanks, man.
Yo, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yo, man, that guy, we come a long way with that guy. I just get emotional thinking about it. Um, we grew up together, and we loved music. And people don't know this thing about Umtata. Umtata was an independent state, like Bophuthatswana.
Yeah.
So it was different from any South African city. It was run by black people, so there was no white people much. There was no apartheid experiences there. It was like a small town, so where there was the richest people were black, so there were different classes of people, and there were big famous surnames, and we were not those ones, so we came like, if you told anyone who's you're not part of anything. You can't get into a party. You can't have friends in certain places because you are from the lowest of the lowest places, but we loved music, so we used to like literally go stand and study lift to get to town, hope for the best. Skezile, smashe, like, when we get there, we want to blend in, but see, and then someone stops in their van, we jump in the back, we go, we get to town, we walk again, get another, to find a party. Sometimes the party's in someone's house, and all these kids are there driving their family cars. Some of them will pass us on the way and wouldn't stop for us. And we get there, we blend in, we forget where we come from, And in the morning, same thing. We're walking back home. The cars from the party, they're coming, because we were not popular kids, but we just followed music. Same thing when then I moved to Pretoria. I used to literally, if I see a Glenn Lewis poster, Christos, Fresh, or Skido, I'll be that guy in the front who's like just watching, understanding like what makes him a great DJ. Why is he where he is, and to a point where they started knowing me. Like Glenn knew me without knowing me. I was such a fan. I would go to his record shop in Pretoria. He would see me there, but he didn't really know me. Fresh, the same thing. To roll with Cleo. then at that time I'll try give them my music, my demos, and you know, then Monde, who was like a brother to everyone, the late Monde, he helped a lot of us because he had a heart. You know, he was inconveniencing his famous friends a lot because he took everyone in like his own brother. You know, so he'll be blooming like with all the famous people. You call him, he says, "Oh no, come." You know, next thing you're walking in, and all the celebrities are there, and he's like, "No, relax, you know, sit down." And he took everyone in. Monde took all of us in. You know, as long as you know you had the talent, and he took all of us. You know, in and this was my school. You know, my education, understanding people, the dynamics. You know, later to getting to know Christos. You know, later to getting to know Fresh and Oskido, all of them. But it was pure. I was a fan, clean, you know, proper. I was a fan and followed them around. Uh, Spent my last money at the door to go stand and watch and understand, you know, what is it that they're doing. And this guy has been there with me since. You know, we've been doing this thing forever.
And as much as other people have given you opportunities, you've done the same. You know, like for a lot of other people. One person now that comes to mind being Da Capo. I mean, he's one of the best that we have in our country. I had him on the show, you know, and I remember very clearly he explained the story of how he was at his lowest point, where he was stressed and depressed, you know, not having a way out. And we were at this gig. Vinny Da Vinci was launching his show in Niche in Rosebank, and that's when you
Yeah.
guys met, you know. And he was like explaining us to the story, explaining to us the story of how you approached him and how, literally, you know, to him that connection saved his life in a way, you know, like, and took him from depression. And I really appreciate that about you, bro. But
I heard about that story. I wasn't even aware things were that hard for him. You know, it pains me so much when I sit at home and listen to someone's music and I know like this guy, way beyond my talent, is so talented. And they're not getting the recognition, they're not getting the gigs, they're not getting the work. It pains me. Like there's a new guy now that I've been listening to, the Africa Deep. Like I listened to his songs, then I sent him a message, I think, on Instagram saying to him, "Man, wow," you know. And then he tells me his story, you know, like, "I can't believe I'm talking to you. I'm literally crying. I'm with my mother here. I live in Sisheho," and it breaks me, you know, when I know that, man, you deserve a better life. You know, you deserve at least a chance. You know, at least, yeah, you deserve exposure. You deserve. So I don't even think about such things. Me, like with Dakar, I knew he was working with people, and obviously you don't want to step on toes, and someone is trying to help him build, and then you come. And so it took me a while. I've always known he's dope, but it took me a while, and also just try to figure it out, like how. But one of the best things about Dakapo is his heart. You know, I've worked with so many people, um, and their hearts betrayed them. You know, because there's a point where you have nothing, and there's a point where you have something. And when you have something, then you have a crowd. You have people saying to you, "No, now you are here. Don't listen to this one. Don't do this." And for me, it's always like the same reoccurring conversation where when they get to a certain level, then people are saying, "No, but Black Coffee is jealous of you. He doesn't promote you. Why are you not playing there? Why is he playing there alone?" And he's managed to silence that, like like no one I've worked with. like I've worked with guys and it got into that point where I've been attacked about such things, and they will sit and keep quiet. You know, it's like now what's happening in the world with the Black Lives Matter thing. If you keep quiet, you are part of the problem. So if you know I've contributed in a certain way in your life and I've helped you, speak up. You know, or if you don't, do the right thing. You know, and Takaba has been, for me, that guy who knew that the noise is going to come. I am not going to entertain it. Because unfortunately, our careers, music industry, we are like a low-hanging fruit. Everyone can tell us what to do. No one can tell a banker how to bank. You know, but with us, they will come and say, no, you're doing it wrong. Who's managing you? No, choose a better manager. No, don't release it that label. Go there. Don't do these gigs. We are the lowest hanging fruit. And if you don't silence that noise, it could be the end. Most groups in this country have broken up because of that. People come, they say, no, but you are the group. What does the other guy do? He just DJs, you are the singer. You are the one who's writing the songs. You should be earning more than him. And they get to them, and then most groups break up. And then everyone suffers. You know? And so it's a career where you need to be deeply rooted. You know, Ndakabo has been that guy, you know, up till this point, like his new EP is on his label.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, that's the future. You know, and I sat down and before the Galo thing, I've been working on a music platform, CONVOS. We're probably going to announce this week because we're about to launch it with Huawei. So it's going to be pre-installed on the phones. The way we're trying to structure that business is we want to change the way things are done. And one of the things is not owning artists anymore. My belief is no artist should be owned by a record label anymore. So then it started with me releasing all the artists on mine. You know, every artist should be owned by themselves. Start your own label. That label owns your master. And so it had to start with him. So I've helped him with this album. I've A&R'd it. He kept coming back, and I was like, you know, take this one out. Do you have another one? You know, that Samoya song wasn't meant to be on his album. You know, that's why I love that story, because it's a story of humility. Duduzo approached me. He has lots of music he's working on, and he needs help. So I helped him with other songs, and I took this particular song to Nico. I said, there's a guy who's gonna take this song to the next level. Check out his music. Duduzo is a jazz artist. He's not exposed to most producers. Takabo did the song. He did 3 different versions, I think, of it. Came back. Duduzo went crazy over the song. So it was meant to be Duduzo's song. And so while Takapo is trying to finish his album, I just thought, this is one song that could work for Takapo. You know, and I went back to Duduzo. I said, man, do you mind? You know, can I take this song and, you know, give it to this boy? Because he was like, for sure. Like, went back to Takapo. I went to Duduzo first, and then I said, Takapo, do you like this song for your album? Because he could have said no. Yeah. You know, and he was like, for sure. I said, then give me the stamps. I took the stamps, sent them back to Duduzo to add the final piano. Then back to Nico. Nico finished the song, and here it is. But the story of humility there is how he was willing to help Duduzo without knowing. that this could be like one of his biggest songs, he was open to help me to do so. You know, and in the end, we have that song out. You know, so I've seen everything. You know, I've worked with almost everyone where I thought you deserve the best. I don't have anything, but I'm gonna try my best, you know, to help you. And as soon as they get to a certain level, and then the noises come, then they doubt my intention, and the relationships always goes up. You know, which is what we were talking about earlier. I've had to learn to deal with that and understand that actually even that is okay. It doesn't have to be a burden I carry, you know, because I always see myself as a vessel. Like God just puts me in between to be the bridge. That's why I'm always open. I'm always open to help anyone because that's my understanding of it. I'm the bridge, you know. Oskido was a bridge to me, you know, to start. And so I'm gonna do the same, just to help you go from there to there. What you do from there, that's up to you. You know, but I've seen humility and people, you know, saying being humble is overrated. I've seen it change lives. You know, Nduduzo himself, he had shows in New York. He went to New York, and there's a restaurant in New York, in Soho, that I've invested in. And I told him, when you're there, make sure you go. They're gonna take care of you. Go for lunch, go for dinner. And I told the guys, a friend of mine is coming, and he was busy, but he kept his word. He went, and guess what? This is where he got his Blue Notes recording deal. By going there and honoring his word out of conversation, you know, the guys that are my partners there, you know, were like, man, so we hear you're a pianist. And he's like, yeah, what are you trying to do? He says, I want a Blue Note deal. They're like, oh, that's our friend. And he's like, yeah, but I've sent them music. They're not responding to me. They're like, man, listen. Uh, then the deal was done right there on the spot. It's just, I've seen humility, like being real, you know, like really, really changing lives. And, you know, most people don't understand it. And it's okay. You know, it's okay. It's something I had to understand that we are all wired different. And most of the people that I've worked with have made so many mistakes because fame can be a confusing thing. So you can't also blame people. Like you, one day at a couple, you are depressed and you turn things around. The fame is here. Now you have friends that you didn't have when you were depressed, and you have the money to buy them six-pack, and they have opinions. No one trains you. You know, you can't just have money and be wise. You know, so it's something you understand as well that fame is a dangerous thing for all of us. And so we adapt to it differently. Some takes time to get it, you know, some it affects them forever.
Sure. And I like the couple story. And actually, let me get to humility first because I follow Gary V a lot on Instagram. Some people might know him, and he pushes this kindness and humility as being like the utmost strength. You know, as opposed to in the past where people used to be like, no, kindness is a weakness. It's not a weakness because if
Yeah,
you are not kind to someone, and nobody knows what life has, you know, in store for us. Anything can happen in our lives that might change the way things work, that might change our lives completely even, you know. But if you were kind to somebody and you were at least a nice person, you have more chances for that person to be helped by other people. And not to say that you are being kind or being nice so that you can be helped, but just the
everyone. Yeah,
energy of you putting it out always comes back in one form or another. um
yeah.
Branati, I want to ask you two more questions, Ned, like, but the first one is more about your the record label that you've just acquired through your company, Flight Mode Digital. You've
Yeah.
had long-term partnerships with Universal Music, and you have now acquired the stake in Gallo. What is your view regarding the role of major record labels, especially now that you also feel like record labels should not own artists, especially the masters? But then, what is your view? Are you purchasing Gallo for the historic, the history that they have, or there are other future plans with regards to having other artists' music on there?
Let me tell you a quick story. This kind of deal has been long time coming in different ways. Um, there was a point where Universal Music wanted to acquire Solistic Music, and we had conversations, and we started doing due diligence and checking how much the company's worth. And I remember at Universal, then they changed management. Then the boss then who became the guy who was running Universal was Rodmanu Lindelan Keys. He became the new guy in the middle of the deal, and which usually is a problem because when you have someone having a different vision and then they change, someone else might not have the same. I mean, it's happening now with Gallo. The guy who is running Gallo now, we find him with plans already. That some of them we feel like, we need to discuss. Same thing. So when Linyanim Kiza became the one in charge, then when I sat down with him, he just didn't think he would spend that kind of money on me or my label, so the deal never happened, and we were close, it was quite an exciting time for me, as it is something that hasn't happened to a young guy like me at the time, and I built a solid record label with a big, like a solid financial background, and then fast forward, Sony came. They also wanted to acquire Solistic Music. We had conversations, and one of the things they wanted me to do was to move Solistic Music into Sony's offices and become the head A&R for Sony. Something I knew I wouldn't be able to do. Since I started Solistic Music, I've never run the label. It's not my strength, that's how I build businesses. I want the best people to do the best job. I know my best job. I know what I'm here to do. So I knew I wouldn't be hands-on on the A&R. So when that deal didn't work out, that's when they got Zex to do A&R for Sony, because we had a working relationship at the time. So to them, it was like, okay, if we can't get this guy, we gotta get the closest guy to him, who also has the same music background, so to say. And so these are conversations that happened before. So when these two deals didn't happen, it was disappointing from a business point of view, because it showed the potential of my business. What's the next step then? Should I wait for Gallo to buy me, or should I aspire to buy Gallo? Basically. But before the Gallo conversation, I had been working on Gongbox, and one of the things I wanted to do with Gongbox was I wanted Gongbox to be a platform that owns content. Like today in the world, there's no platform that owns the catalog. Apple Music don't own, Tidal don't own, Spotify. No one owns a catalog. And that was, for me, my dream, that it would be so amazing if Gongbox owned a catalog, Gongbox owned um, a 360 um, ecosystem that can change things in the music industry. So if I'm in a space where I've acquired shares in Gallo, I've built a platform for the industry, I'm then in a position to change things because then I don't have to follow other people's rules. You know, that was the bigger picture. So acquiring Gallo was not the main deal. Launching CONVOS was the main deal. Gallo was part of the deal moving forward. So we are currently restructuring how business is going to be moving forward. And I'm purely on the musician's perspective. And I told the guys who are wearing ties, I'm like, wear your tie. I'm going to come in with my sagging pants. We must meet halfway. So I'm going to be brutally for the artist. What would I want moving forward? You tell me how you're going to make money. But I'm going to be purely coming in as an artist. So this is where our worlds need to meet. But as an artist, can I have a medical aid? Can I have a life cover? Can I have an income protector? Can I have a savings for my children's education? That's the world I want to create. So you tell me how it's going to work. But that's the kind of a structure I want to build, where moving forward, we need to be better. We need to do better. Because we do make money, but no one has created an institution for us where we make it work for us. Record companies are so solid, you know, but the other end, which is us, it's not. So record company will give you. Then it's up to you what you do with it. And it's not their fault that you're going to buy 5 cars the same day. It's not their fault, you know. So how do I help an industry that has no education in that space? Through my own mistakes. So build a structure that is going to have a solid back end so that the artist can continue to just go perform, bring the money, but the back end is solid. That's the future I would love to see. That's what I'm hoping to achieve with the Gallo and the CONVOS relationship and everything else that we have built around it.
Bro, I love this so much, and especially the point of artists really seeing this as a business and thinking long term about it. Because, like, I mean, Branati, when people see you and we see, we see the private jets, we see you in the Maserati, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, most of the time for aspiring artists, like, we don't really, we know, we've seen your story, but we don't really, people don't really know that you did not start by buying a Porsche when you were doing a 5K gig back at the time. You know, you had to work your way, and you're also not buying this, spending 50% of what you have buying a car. You know what I mean? And and I think that it's so important to have the education, and I'm really supportive of your vision of Gallo and for artists especially. I want to get into this point that when you started at Real Tone Agency as a DJ, you shared a story that you were the lowest paid DJ at the time, and at that time they used to have people like Rocco, people like Frank Roger on it as well, and you were on this agency being the lowest paid DJ. What are like the lessons that we could give? Actually, no, before the lessons, I want to get just to this point of traveling. Can you remember a point where you were traveling abroad, you know, a part of Real Tone, and you were not traveling first class? You were not
Oh
private
yeah.
jetting. What was
No,
that like difficult one that was like, ish, now I'm sleeping in this place?
no. I mean, it's a choice. I still do it because how it works. Um, there's two ways of doing gigs. There's landed fees, or a landed fee mean the promoter is going to give you an amount, and in that amount you book your own flights and your own hotel, and that's what we do. So meaning it's my choice to fly. The promoter has given me 10 rands. So am I going to spend 7 rands of that 10 rands buying a business class ticket? And how many 10 rands can I get on a weekend or in a month? So we work on that on that kind of system where all the fees are landed. A simple quick story: 2000 and 2016, I was building a house, and I that time I was accustomed to private, sorry, first class tickets, but I knew that I need money to build my house. I need cash to build my house. And so I told the team, no 5-star hotels, no business class tickets for the entire tour. I was on buses, I was on trains, like anything to save money. Like I said earlier, I'm goal driven, and my goal was, by the time the tour is over, I need to have a home. And so it's a choice. And now when you get to the private jet space, it's another choice because it's a landed fee. So when you combine all these fees, how much money do I have? And what does flying a private jet mean? Does it mean more gigs, or is it luxury? When I have it, how many shows can I then cover? You know, uh, and it at this point, without a private jet, I'd actually make less money. So, but it's all gradual. Lionel is the best in the game, and we've grown together. And every move we make, even at times where I think I'm right, I'm like, man, what do you think? I trust his opinion so much. He does the same when he thinks we're going. What do you think? Sometimes I'm like, no. Sometimes he comes with something and he thinks it's going to be a yes, and it's a no. And sometimes it's a yes and he's shocked, like, why did you say yes? And I explain how I see things. So that's why it's been so unique, because I also had to educate him about where I come from, and what certain things mean. And early, he understood it, like a poster, from the beginning, where then they put like the drums, and then my face, they paint, they put. I said, I don't. That's not where I come from.
Yeah.
And that's where people think I come from, with the face mask, and that's not where I come from. And it's very important to make sure they understand that. So we approve every flyer. If anything, we're going to design it ourselves, so that the story is always told right. And that's how we do landed fees, because we don't have to tell the promoter, we don't want to sleep there, we want to sleep there. So we sleep according to our budget. Depending on what we're working on, we're going to fly according to our budget. What do we need? If I'm going to do 4 or 5 shows a weekend, I can't do economy then. And long connecting flights, I can't do economy because I'm not allowed at the lounge. So all the decisions that we make, uh, it's never about luxury. It's about how it's going to work in the end. You know, so when there's a jet, it's not because of luxury, it's because there's more earnings, or we want more earnings, and meaning we can do 3 shows on a day. You know, like we can do festival, closing sets. We do 3 countries in a day. Then that money is able to pay for it. You know, so but it's all been strategic. It's all been like you're mentioning. I was once like this the youngest artist, which is what I love about Gallo, because I love building. You know, I love being the underrated guy. I love that. You know, it gives me so much drive, and something I spoke to Gary Vee about. Like I love um, being the small guy in the room and growing. You know, it's something I have passion for. So that's how we structure things. Like this is how we grow, and people come early to understand things different. Like you were saying, my first car was before I had a first car. Like Greg, Cisco, Chrysos used to drive me to YFM. I had to do a 30 minutes mix, 25 minutes mix. They used to drive me to gigs if they had to. And eventually, when I could buy a car, it was a Polo player, you know, and I've made the mistakes too of going from there to a band and another band and another band. And I've seen how it affected me financially. And I've seen at the same time how it affected me drive wise. Because being black and coming from where we come from, we want to tick that box. You know, having a car in the family is the biggest thing for black people. And you can't ignore that. You know, you cannot. You want to tick that box. And I'm saying, tick it. You know, once you've ticked it, now, what other boxes can you tick? You know, where can you go that your parents couldn't? You know, career-wise with your moves, how can you improve your life and your family's life? These are the next boxes before you get into a fleet. You know, and most guys make that mistake of they want a fleet of cars, and uh, without thinking, a car was a goal that I couldn't achieve, and ticking that as a goal, let me find another one. Them not sticking to one, because now you know, I gave Heavy K a call once when he was building a big fleet, and I have him on WhatsApp, and I saw him posting with the Ferrari. He took a picture, and I immediately called him. In fact, I sent him a message. I'm like, man, let me know if you have time. I want to talk to you. Because now you've passed that stage of thinking, I can't achieve buying a Ferrari. So he took a picture with it. Like I said to you, there's no way God will show you that and you can't have it. So I knew that that's what's next.
Sure.
So I said to him, you've ticked that box already. You've pushed yourself enough. You know, what other boxes can you now tick? As unfortunately, we don't have people who can teach us and tell us these things. So I had to have an honest conversation with him. You know, and it's conversations I've had with other artists, but then they're like, but what about you? You know, and then I have to go back and say, but where were you in 2015? You know, sorry, in 2005 when I released my first album. That's how far I come from. You know, so don't compare me and you right now. We can be on the same line now. You know, we can be on Twitter and you can seem like you have a following, but we are not the same. You know, and it's a journey, you know, and it's going to take us a lot of time to also understand. And I've seen artists coming and then grateful. You know, last week there was a big thing with Prince KB on Twitter. And first time I met the guy was in Bloom. I was playing in some gig. And he was waiting till I finished to say thank you. He had dreadlocks at the time. Came, introduced himself, thank you so much for supporting my song. Better Days, I've seen it everywhere. You've been playing it everywhere in the world. Like I said, he doesn't owe me anything. Like, I see myself as a vessel. You great, come, let me show the world how great you are. Fast forward to last week, I felt like I was dealing with a different person, and I actually was, but I didn't understand, so I came unprepared for this guy, and it was one of the biggest lessons to learn, that do not go into that space with people. Your vision is going to be so misunderstood by people who actually don't even know you, and it's okay. So when I saw his last tweet about "you've never liked me," and then it made sense, and I felt sorry for him now, because how did we get to that space where you don't think I like you? But you were the same guy who came and said thank you. Even when "Come Get Your Life" came out, it came out at the same time when I did this song with Msagi. You did a song with Msagi, and your song was like commercially viable. So I played it everywhere still. And he posted me playing the song still saying thank you for the support, but still there was an underlying issue that was sitting with him, where he felt, I don't like him, and it's something I was not aware of, and because I every now and then will tweet and acknowledge people. I will tweet and say Takapo is so dope, and I'll do a post on him, and and having this kind of platform, I want every DJ, every producer who comes from this country to, understand that I'm not the father of the industry, because that's another thing, when you feel like a guy doesn't acknowledge you, isn't that a misplaced thing? Am I the one who's supposed to acknowledge everyone? Do I have that power really to, am I anyone's father? I'm not, but with that being said, I'm that guy who appreciates, and I want to use this platform to, for guys who don't think I appreciate everyone, because we are in an industry today because of all these different sounds. Heavy K brings something, Prince KB brings something, Shimza brings something. Like, we all bring something. So at the end of the day, we bring something equally to make this genre a South African genre. So I'm using this platform to tell everyone, like, I have no problem with anyone, whether locally or internationally. Yesterday there was a live video on Sunday, Bodhisattva, talking about Afrobeat and how South Africans have taken it and dumbed it down, to what it is today. And, he does not get an acknowledgement as a guy who's been there. My brother, I love and appreciate you and your contribution in the game, just in case people don't think they are appreciated, I'm using this platform to tell everyone that I'm here for that. If you have a song that, fits on my playlist, without any doubt and any question, I will play it. I'm giving everyone flowers, basically.
Sure.
So that it's not misunderstood, and people think I'm for certain people, and I'm not for certain people. I'm for everyone. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm making the moves that I'm making, because these are the moves for the entire industry.
I love this so much, bro. But I have to ask you if you listen to my song, because I sent you a song and I saw you
No, I
downloading it.
did. I did. I did. I
Sure.
love the song. No, I listened to it.
Cool, cool.
That's why it was easy to find your link now for this thing.
Dope, dope, dope.
Yes, yes.
I want to ask you quickly about clothing and Jewish, because I remember I was at Saint when you had your branch, and a friend of mine was DJing there, and we stayed a while and up till she finished her set. But I saw people coming from there. Then I went on social media, and
Yeah.
everybody was dressed up. And I told China, "Kere, I'm sure like you could just tell Hong Kong like just by the look you could see like
For sure.
yeah. But like what is your thing about clothing and looking so stylish?
Um, I think style is something you're born with. Honestly, I know a lot of people who with lots of money who still don't get it right. I'm on the fortunate side to uh, have found my thing, because that's another thing. Style is you don't dress like everyone. You
Sure.
just believe in your thing and you follow your thing. And other people will think I I wouldn't dress like that, and it's okay. It's a way of um, expressing yourself, and it's something I've always loved. One of the things that I'm working on is a clothing label. We've established a shop called Yawa and opened it in Cape Town as a pop-up store, and we're selling international brands. But the bigger picture, where we're going with it, Yawa is a clothing brand, and it's our brand. And the plan is to open a shop called Yawa, where we're going to house local and international brands. So the way I do things, it's quite weird. I work backwards. Like, I think of a 60-year-old me and think, at 60, what do I have? What do I love? And so in my portfolio, this is the kind of car I have when I'm 60. This is my property profile. I want to have a farm. I want to have an apartment in the city. Maybe in certain cities, I want to have a house. So then I start working towards these things now, so that when I'm 60, I have them. So Yawa is one of those things where people are like, but why is it called Yawa if it sells international brands? But because it's been done backwards. By the time it launches as a shop, you are accustomed to it. By the time it hosts all the local brands, you're accustomed to it. So most of the things that I do today are because it's written already, and it's coming. It's gonna unpack as it goes. That's why the Gallo deal, and people were like, wow, we didn't see this one coming, because there's a gong box thing, which is a bigger picture. So I work like that, and I love clothes, man, and I'm hoping one day we're going to be confident enough as a continent to have quality things that compete. And I tweeted this the other day. I was wearing a mask, and it became a big thing. I'm like, why are you wearing a Louis Vuitton mask? And so I have a friend in LA. His name is Itai. Itai is a creative, and what he does is he goes and he buys things. Like, he will go to Louis Vuitton and buy maybe 100 towels of Louis Vuitton, and then he'll create things out of them. So he created those masks, and he made them to raise funds for Corona. So he sent them to different people. So he sent me the mask, and so I'm wearing this mask, and then I got a backlash for, why are you not wearing a stretch mask? You are South African. And first of all, I'm not going to wear a stretch mask. Like, honestly, because there's things that you like. So I don't like a stretch mask. Like, I don't care how patriotic you want me to be. So that was the conversation. So,
Yeah.
and I said to them, I wish we can get to a space where we actually do cool things where we don't have a conversation where you are forcing me to wear a straight mask so I can look South African, you know,
Sure, sure.
and that's why we're building a business, Yawa. Yawa is going to be that clothing label that is going to sit with anything in the world. And I'm hoping we create a lot of like local labels that get to that point where no one has to force you. Ah, no, it's local, buy it. But I'm like, it's shit. It is local, but it's not what I would wear.
Sure, sure.
So I'm hoping we get, and it's another business that I'm building. Where we we apply ourselves in the quality now. Yes, we can make sweaters. Yes, we can make T-shirts. But how can we make them to be comfortable enough and that you can wear it anywhere without being forced because it's a South African thing, basically.
Sure.
So at the branch, the suit that I was wearing is designed by Tsepo.
Yeah. Tsepo.
And now I must explain that actually, I do wear local things. Every time I'm actually wearing a suit or my kids, it's done by Tsepo.
Sure.
All of them. I mean, because he does them well. And I want us to get to that space where we have these things and they're all done well. And we're not forcing the South African thing. No, it must be good.
He's from RFM tailored suits, right?
Yes, but it's like I'm gonna force you to play local music, even if it's not mixed well, and it's an MP3 from WhatsApp.
96 kbps.
Yeah. So, and I give you the song and I say, go play it at high. And if I say no, you're like, no, you're not patriotic. It's a South African song. Man, come on.
Sure. I hope I will, by that time Yawa really kicks in, or even if it's a later time, this brand right here would have grown into something bigger.
I've been seeing it, man.
Yeah,
Bread4Soul, right?
Bread4Soul, yeah. I'm really working on.
Yeah,
we
I've
are
been seeing it.
putting
but
in
that's
the
the kind we want. I mean, Kabila's got his one. Music will save the day.
Yes.
Those are the kind of things that we want there, to even a point where we are willing to, when the time comes, to create small capsules that are collaborations. So if you have a brand and we feel like your brand is dope, but it's not of the quality, then we can collaborate on a capsule, so that it can sit next to the other brands in the store. So that's the plan. That's what we're working towards.
Thank you, brother. I think we've talked enough, even though I know you need to get to your session.
Yeah, I know. It was an hour. It's gone. I'm going to phone and apologize. But this was therapy for me, to be able to speak. I always shy away from bringing people's names because then it always seems wrong. But as long as it's done right and I speak my truth, it felt like therapy for me to be able to speak about the Prince KB thing, about the Bodhisattva thing, about the industry, and the things that I've been through and the things that we've all been through. Because there's no written book about what we do, about what you do as well. This is all new. We are trying to build each other. This is why I agreed, to be able to speak to you. It's not a TV show, it's something that you're trying to do to take the culture to the next level. All you need is support. And that's what we all need, to understand that we are the new generation. We are all trying to figure this thing out. And we are all trying slowly to grow.
Yeah,
but I have to run now. I have a 12 o'clock.
Thank you so much. Groot man. I appreciate it. Groot man.
Thank you, Cham.
Hola, Branati. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks.
so deep, have birds that sing, arms so wide, branches thick. I could carry you and stick. See, I could carry you and be greater still, stronger till in the sea I learned to swim to the shore. Open doors, bring the storm right to the floor. Bear the earth to the sun. Let them know my time has come. This is me and I will be all you thought I'd never be. That's what I used to be, used to be, used to be. That's what I used to be, used to be, used to be. That's what I used to be, used to be, used to be. That's what I used to be. I could see more in me, felt the wind, and I could breathe, found my voice, oh, I could speak, found my peace, now I can be, found my peace, now I can be greater still, stronger till in the sea I learned to swim to the shore. Open doors, bring the storm right to the floor. Bear the earth to the sun. Let them know my time has come. This is me and I will be all you thought I'd never be. That's what I used to be, used to be, used to be. That's what I used to be, used to be, used to be. Look into the life that makes you happy. This is me and I will be nothing like you thought I'd be. This is me and this is me and I will be nothing like you thought I'd be. This is me and this is me and I will be nothing like you thought I'd be. This is me and this is me and I will be nothing like you.